In the 1999 National Electrical Code, Section 312.6 addresses the use of enclosures such as panel boards and switchgear as raceways. This section stipulates that enclosures for switches, overcurrent devices, control devices, and similar equipment shall not be used as raceways for conductors unless specifically designed and identified for such use. This means that panel boards and switchgear, which are primarily intended to house and protect electrical components, should only be used to contain the conductors that directly connect to those components. The purpose of this rule is to prevent overcrowding and ensure proper heat dissipation within the enclosure, thereby reducing the risk of electrical fires and equipment failure. It also helps to maintain the integrity of the grounding system and prevent unintentional contact between conductors, which could lead to short circuits or ground faults. The NEC provides specific requirements for the installation of conductors in raceways, including the type of raceway, the number of conductors allowed, and the methods of support. These requirements are designed to ensure that conductors are properly protected from physical damage and environmental conditions, and that they are installed in a safe and reliable manner. When panel boards and switchgear are used as intended, they provide a safe and organized way to distribute electrical power throughout a building. However, when they are used as raceways, they can become congested and difficult to maintain, increasing the risk of electrical hazards. Therefore, it is important to follow the requirements of Section 312.6 and use panel boards and switchgear only for their intended purpose. If additional raceway space is needed, separate raceways should be installed to accommodate the conductors. The NEC defines a raceway as an enclosed channel design expressly for holding wires, cables, or busbars, with additional functions as permitted in the NEC. Raceways can be made of metal or insulating materials, and the term includes rigid metal conduit, rigid non-metallic conduit, intermediate metal conduit, electrical metallic tubing, flexible metallic conduit, flexible non-metallic conduit, surface raceways, wireways, and cable trays. Each type of raceway has specific applications and installation requirements, which are detailed in the NEC. The use of panel boards and switchgear as raceways is generally prohibited because these enclosures are not designed to provide the same level of protection and support as dedicated raceways. Panel boards and switchgear are typically smaller and more crowded than raceways, making it difficult to install and maintain conductors properly. They may also lack the necessary features for grounding and bonding, which are essential for electrical safety. In addition, using panel boards and switchgear as raceways can make it difficult to access the electrical components inside, which can hinder troubleshooting and repair efforts. When conductors are run through panel boards and switchgear, they must be properly supported and protected from physical damage. The NEC specifies the types of supports and protection methods that are acceptable depending on the type of conductor and the location of the installation. In general, conductors must be supported at intervals that prevent excessive sagging or movement, and they must be protected from abrasion, sharp edges, and other potential hazards. The use of panel boards and switchgear as raceways can also affect the ampacity of the conductors. Ampacity is the maximum current that a conductor can carry continuously under specified conditions without exceeding its temperature rating. The NEC provides tables that list the ampacity of various types of conductors based on their size, insulation, and installation method. When conductors are installed in raceways, their ampacity may be reduced due to the effects of heat buildup in proximity to other conductors. This reduction in ampacity is known as derriting, and it is necessary to ensure that the conductors do not overheat and cause a fire hazard. When panel boards and switchgear are used as raceways, the ampacity of the conductors may be derrited more severely than in dedicated raceways due to the limited space and ventilation within the enclosure. Therefore, it is important to carefully consider the ampacity of the conductors and the derriting factors that apply when using panel boards and switchgear. In addition to the ampacity requirements, the NEC also specifies the minimum size of conductors that can be used in panel boards and switchgear. The minimum size is determined by the load that the conductor will carry, as well as the length of the conductor and the voltage drop that is allowed. Voltage drop is the decrease in voltage that occurs along the length of a conductor due to its resistance. Excessive voltage drop can cause equipment to malfunction or operate inefficiently, so it is important to keep the voltage drop within acceptable limits. The NEC provides formulas and tables that can be used to calculate voltage drop, and it also specifies the maximum voltage drop that is allowed for various types of circuits. When conductors are run through panel boards and switchgear, the voltage drop may be greater than in dedicated raceways, due to the increased length of the conductors and the presence of other conductors in the enclosure. Therefore, it is important to carefully consider the voltage drop when using panel boards and switchgear, and to select conductors that are large enough to minimize the voltage drop. The NEC also contains specific requirements for the grounding and bonding of panel boards and switchgear. Grounding is the process of connecting electrical equipment to the earth, which provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source. Bonding is the process of connecting different metal parts of the electrical system together, which ensures that they are at the same electrical potential. Grounding and bonding are essential for electrical safety, as they help to prevent electric shock and reduce the risk of electrical fires. The NEC requires that all panel boards and switchgear be grounded and bonded in accordance with specific requirements. These requirements vary depending on the type of system and the location of the installation. When panel boards and switchgear are used as raceways, it is important to ensure that the grounding and bonding connections are properly maintained. The NEC also specifies the types of overcurrent protection devices that are required for panel boards and switchgear. Overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers and fuses, are designed to protect electrical circuits from overloads and short circuits. When an overcurrent occurs, the overcurrent protection device will trip or blow, interrupting the flow of current and preventing damage to the equipment. The NEC requires that all panel boards and switchgear be protected by overcurrent protection devices that are properly sized and rated for the circuits they protect. These devices must be installed in accordance with specific requirements, including the type of enclosure, the mounting method, and the accessibility of the device. When panel boards and switchgear are used as raceways, it is important to ensure that the overcurrent protection devices are properly coordinated with the conductors and the equipment they protect. The NEC also contains specific requirements for the working space around panel boards and switchgear. Working space is the area around electrical equipment that is necessary for safe and convenient access for maintenance and repair. The NEC specifies the minimum dimensions of the working space, including the width, depth, and height. The working space must be kept clear of obstructions, such as storage boxes and equipment, and it must be adequately illuminated. When panel boards and switchgear are used as raceways, it is important to ensure that the working space is not obstructed by the conductors or other equipment. The NEC also specifies the types of labeling and identification that are required for panel boards and switchgear. Labeling and identification are essential for electrical safety, as they help to identify the equipment and the circuits it serves. The NEC requires that all panel boards and switchgear be labeled with the manufacturer's name, the voltage and current ratings, and the number of circuits. The circuits must also be identified with labels that indicate the loads they serve. When panel boards and switchgear are used as raceways, it is important to ensure that the labeling and identification are not obscured by the conductors or other equipment. In summary, Section 312.6 of the 1999 National Electrical Code prohibits the use of panel boards and switchgear as raceways unless they are specifically designed and identified for such use. This rule is intended to prevent overcrowding, ensure proper heat dissipation, maintain the integrity of the grounding system, and facilitate access to the electrical components. When conductors are run through panel boards and switchgear, they must be properly supported and protected from physical damage, and their ampacity may need to be derated. The grounding and bonding connections must also be properly maintained, and the overcurrent protection devices must be properly coordinated. The working space around the panel boards and switchgear must be kept clear of obstructions, and the labeling and identification must not be obscured. By following these requirements, electrical installations can be made safer and more reliable.